Hi everybody, David Mitchell here. I just wanted to do a quick introduction to the chat I had with Jason a couple of weeks ago. First of all, I really want to just say a big thank you to Libby, Fraser and Jason for coming and giving up their spare time to be there to have the chat. It was right out my comfort zone, but I'm glad I've done it. I hope it starts to raise a bit of awareness. Also thanks to Matthew and Stuart at Espresso Cart in Kilmarnock for having us. Really kind of them. All the guys there were welcoming, and it's greatly appreciated. Lastly, with the thank yous, obviously massive thanks to Lynette, my two kids, Sean and Layla, for supporting me with doing the podcast, the chat that we had. And again, the main reason for doing this introduction was I'd forgot a lot of things to say during the chat, and it was big things for me. The main thing was, you know, you'll hear me speak about how there's not enough done for players with the mental side of the game in Scotland. In the same breath as that, there is not enough done, nowhere near enough done to support this charity Back Onside with what they're doing for Scottish football and players involved in that. Not only players, but you know, it might be staff members at the club, might be fans, families. And I guarantee you this charity will be helping players currently in the dressing rooms, young and old, players from the past, and players that are still to play for your club. The ways that this can change, I mean, I was really surprised, I was shocked how little support Back Onside are getting from Scottish football, Scottish clubs, considering, you know, the amount of players that they've helped. I think since they've started it's been well over 500 players. I'm one of them that they've helped, and this needs to change. It needs to change quick. There's a waiting list of, I think, 200 plus, and it's going to just keep growing. Also, they've had to recently shut down the emergency hotline, which is pretty tragic. I think everybody would agree with that. The ways that this could change, I mean, you can go into Just Giving, search Back Onside, there'll be a whole list of people raising money. If you can donate anything at all, anything, doesn't matter how much, it goes towards, you know, something great. Also, you can go into backonside.co.uk and you can click donate there as well. If you're a business owner, if you're sitting in the crowds every Saturday and you've got your own business and you feel like, you know, you want to give a little bit back, I mean, just go on the website, get in touch with Libby, and go from there. There's always events coming up, there's stuff planned for the future, so I mean, we can just get involved that way. Apart from that, I really hope that people, you know, that are running these football clubs, I hope they see this. I hope they realise just how much work the charity's doing and how little in return they're getting from football clubs. I know there is a few out there that are helping. Hibs, Hibs are the main ones. It's just not enough. It's really not enough. Hopefully I can start doing a wee bit to help change that. I've already spoke to people at my club, and hopefully going forward we can make a change there. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the chat. If you don't, put it on at night, it'll help you go to sleep or something. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for taking the time out to come and speak to us. I think first of all, it'd be good to get a wee bit of background to you for anybody that's watching this around that's going to listen, just to know a wee bit about you and your playing career. You're at Thistle just now, aye?
Thistle, I've been there, this is my second year. Obviously I've played football since I was a wee boy, so I was a bit free. I didn't really have the usual kind of upbringing through football. I was more boys club the whole way until I was about 19. I was lucky to be picked up by United, just the youth team. I'd spent maybe, I think it was about half a season, and I signed with the first team. So for the second half of that season, I was mainly with them, just on the bench and stuff. Lucky enough to be part of promotion, which was good for a kid my age. The following season I went out on loan to Stranraer for 6 years. Had a great time there, absolutely loved it. That's where I probably learned the most about football, about myself. I was allowed to go and make mistakes, I was allowed to go and learn, so I'm forever grateful to that club. Again, I was lucky enough to meet my my fiancée was at Stranraer as well, so she's a Stranraer girl, and we've got 2 kids together. So if it wasn't for Stranraer, I probably wouldn't have my kids.
Or certainly would have been a different.
Aye, it could have been.
Route.
Yeah, it could have been totally different. So it's a club I'm forever kind of grateful for. And always had the ambition of getting full time football since I was a wee boy. It's just all I ever wanted to do. At school, I wasn't the best at school. I was only interested in football. Looking back now, I kind of regret that, but it is what it is. Again, if I hadn't been like that, maybe I wouldn't be where I am.
You were
I wouldn't have had the career that I've had. So it's all ifs and buts. But then for Stranraer, I moved to Dundee, which was pretty much what I was after. It was a dream come true for me. I had 2 years there, which wasn't great. To be honest, I think I just wasn't quite in the right place when I went to Dundee. Obviously, Lynette was pregnant with my wee boy at the time. He was born with a cleft lip and palate, so he had to have a couple of operations early on in his life, which was tough. It was hard going. We'd actually moved up to Glasgow as well with the family. Now I don't know how boys from down south can come up here and do it, because I moved to Glasgow, which is 40 minutes away
up the road
from where I'm from Ayrshire. So, and we struggled. We found it difficult. It was hard, really hard work, and that obviously that affected my football at Dundee. Definitely did. Then from Dundee, I went to Falkirk. I was there for 2 years. My first year, again, I picked up a pretty horrific injury. It was I ruptured my patellar tendon. I came into the team, played 2 games, and it went, and that was me. That season was just written off straight away. Second season again, I came back. I got into the team a couple of times, but again, I wasn't in the right kind of frame of mind. I struggled mentally, probably, to get prepared for games. Unfortunately, we got relegated that season, and I was released, which was tough to take, because again, Falkirk was a club that I loved. They'd done a lot for me, especially through my injury. They'd done everything they could to get me back fit and playing, and it's a club I'll always be grateful to. And then obviously I hadn't really played much. I had a bad injury. I remember my agent phoning me saying, look, everybody's concerned because you've not played, because you've had a bad injury, which is, again, at times frustrating. You don't understand it, but now I'm a wee bit older, I get that, I understand. And I went back part-time to Clyde. One of my good mates, Chris Fahey, was a goalie coach there. He had a big part to kind of playing me going there as well, under Danny Lennon, and I absolutely loved it. I was back kind of playing well, and I had a lot to prove to people. I think I'd done that. Like I say, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The whole thing about the club, they really made me and my family feel welcome. And then from there, I got moved to Hibs, which I really didn't see coming. I was working with another good friend of mine, Ali McGee. He's played kind of junior level stuff, so he understands football, and I was fortunate enough that he gave me a job. And I remember one day just working away, and I get a phone call from my agent saying that Hibs were wanting to sign me, and I just kind of hand on the machine, stopped the machine, and just kind of, I went in his office, and that crumbled, absolutely crumbled. And again, it was a 2-year deal I signed there. I only spent a year there, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was just probably the standards at that club, the high standards, the way everybody went about their daily business was me down to a T. That's how I hold myself. I'd set really high standards. I look after myself as much as I can, and absolutely every single person in that building was the same, from the players to the physios to the ground staff to the chef, everybody. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it there. Unfortunately, the only downside was I wasn't playing again. and to go from playing to kind of doing a warm up, sitting in a stand was difficult at times. You don't really feel that much a part of it, even though nobody ever made me feel that way. That was me. That was on me. I had that in my head. Then I just made the decision that I had to go and play. I had to go and at least go somewhere where I was going to have a chance of playing, and that's where Partick Thistle came in. And that was last season. I signed in a 2-year deal, and that's been me ever since. It's kind of been a mixed couple of years. Again, I've loved it. I have loved it overall. I've learned a lot about myself more than anything, and it's probably been one of the most difficult times in my career, the first season. But I seen it as a way to kind of change some things, and I recognised I had a weakness that I kind of always felt was maybe there, but it's that way in Scottish football especially. I think it's no, if you're saying to somebody, I'm quite nervous, you're slaughtered, you're absolutely, it's like nervous kind of thing, and it shouldn't be that way. So it was more the kind of performance side of things I was maybe struggling with, and again, that's probably where Back Onside come in for me.
Okay. That's something that obviously why we're here. Obviously, it was because of the connection with Back Onside, and we want to speak a bit about that. What's interesting is, and I've obviously spoke to a few different players and teams, etc. And I was going to bring that up with you, was like the move, because it is a big, like, I suppose maybe in football people don't understand or think about the kind of family side of things, whereas your missus down in Stranraer, it's a big upheaval to move to a new place and relocate. And did you think that ever affected you as a player?
Oh, definitely did, because I mean it was difficult, especially, I mean, Lynette had moved up for Stranraer. I mean, I'm away training, so she's on her own. Every single day with a baby, and my wee girl was, I think she was about 4 at the time. So that must be difficult. Like, well, it is difficult. Do you know what I mean? And I'm away training and stuff. Then when I'm coming home, I'm absolutely shattered. So it's like you're struggling to kind of help out as well. So that kind of breeds a sort of an environment where there can be arguments, and it is hard work, it is difficult. Everybody's got that. I'm sure everybody in every walk of life's got that problem, not just us, but
I can assure you that's right.
So do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm sitting here saying
I can testify to that.
It's hard work. Having kids is hard, but I think it was just everything all together, moving away from home, moving away from family, us two on our own, a new baby that was having to go through a couple of operations early on in his life, which alone is stressful on everybody. Again, my wee girl had moved school. She had moved to a school in Glasgow. She knew absolutely nobody, and she doesn't get enough credit because she took it in her stride. And it's unbelievable how, to this day, she could walk into any room and she'd make pals with somebody. She's so good at it. Maybe that comes from the moving. So it definitely played a part, because then I'm going to try and train and your head's a wee bit all over the place. You're tired because you're not sleeping as much. You're not recovering as well, so your body's getting sore, and it just all kind of came together. And I think that is where I kind of struggled at Dundee. I couldn't fully focus on it. I couldn't fully concentrate on it. Again, it's just part of learning, and it's a stage in my career where I'm grateful because I've learned from it. I've been there and I've done it, and I've overcame it. So but it definitely did affect me.
You can obviously see how that would happen. So look, Well, you brought that up. We might as well go on to saying about the kind of connection with Back Onside. We'll maybe go back through like your time at Dundee, and you were talking about your first year at Thistle being a bit difficult. But going on to like Back Onside, if we bring in your connection there. So what was your kind of introduction to Back Onside?
So I'd obviously been aware of Back Onside through football, just friends that I know through football. But the main person that really brought it to my attention was John Conley. Mm-hmm. He's another really close friend of mine. He's one of my best mates. Obviously he went through a difficult time, and Back Onside saved his life. So that was the first time it really kind of proper came to my attention. It was through John.
Mm-hmm. And what, if you don't mind me asking, David, what was your reason for kind of reaching out, or how did you do that?
So obviously my first year at Thistle, as a football player, you know when you're not playing well, you know when you're kind of struggling, and I was struggling, I wasn't playing well, and there was a lot of kind of, I was getting a lot of abuse, I would say, from fans. I was seeing stuff online that was affecting me, it was getting to me, and it just came to a head. There was one game, I've made a pretty horrendous mistake, we've ended up losing the game, and I remember going home, and I actually went to my mum and dad's, and the first thing I done, I went upstairs to my dad, and I just totally broke down and said, this just isn't for me anymore. I think it's time I just call it a day. I was on the verge of retiring. My dad's probably been like the guy in my life that's always believed in me no matter what. He's backed me to the hill no matter what, and that's been a massive positive for me in my career. And the only thing he said was, do what you need to do. He just said, do what you need to do. If that's going to make you happy, then do it. It's not worth it anymore. If this is what it's making you feel, it's not worth it. So I kind of had that in my head that I was going to go for it. I was going to call it a day. It wasn't fair in the kids, it wasn't fair in Lynette. You know, I've just been kind of miserable every day when I'm trying to do something that I love. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like, but there was always something there telling me it wasn't the time, because physically I felt good. It was just more the mental side of the game. I knew there was something not right. I knew something just was missing. And I spoke to John, and I told him my thoughts, and the first thing he'd done was get Back Onside to get in touch with me. Sorry, he actually passed the number on to me, and I ignored it. Mm-hmm. I just says, no, I'm not going to waste their time. It's not like, in my head I was thinking that's not what I need, because Back Onside were mainly focused on the mental health side of things. Now I didn't feel like I had any mental health problems. I just felt like I struggled with the mental side of the game. Mm-hmm. So basically I ignored it. I didn't use the number. I think it was Libby's number he passed on. I didn't use it, and then I think John actually forced Libby to get in touch. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm forever grateful to him for forcing that, mm-hmm. because it basically saved my career. And I'm grateful, obviously, Libby, you know, done that, and then went and put the next steps in place for me to go and get a bit of help with the mental kind of side of things that I was struggling with. So that's mainly how my kind of connection comes in.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, that's interesting, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I like, again, going back to like, I've done a couple of changing room chats speaking to teams, mm-hmm. and one of if I ever speak to like a team, or even, in fact, it doesn't matter where I do it, but in general, if it's like a team, one of the questions that I ask near the start is how many people have been to see the physio this week, and nearly every hand in the room goes up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I think when you just said that there, you get held a number and you thought, I'm not wanting to waste their time. So what part of you stopped you from thinking that that's something that you could get a bit of assistance with?
I don't know. I think it always comes down to, it's so hard to ask for help. I think it's really difficult to ask for help. I think that is that is the first step. I just found it really hard to ask for help. It's that way again. It comes down to when I came through, I was coming through the end of like the old school kind of era, where it's like if you're nervous, there's something wrong with you, like, or if you have got problems with the mental side of the game, like that's a problem. That's like almost like frowned upon, and that's not alright. Now, but for me, the mental side of the game is the biggest thing. It's the percentage it's massive. I'd say 80% mental, 20% is your ability. For me, we are miles behind everybody else up here with the mental side of the game.
Scotland, Jim?
Scotland, a million miles away. Taking away obviously maybe Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, they're maybe a step ahead of everybody, but compared to teams down south, we are miles off it, absolutely miles off it. And again, there's not enough done for that side of things at football clubs. You've got physios, you've got sports scientists, you've got a goalie coach, an assistant manager, and you've got the manager. Now I think a psychologist of some sorts, if it's a sports psychologist or if it is maybe back onside, they need to be right up there with these guys for me. Yeah, it's just so that kind of me coming through that stage of my career when I was younger, you're almost scared to ask for help. If you ask for help, what's wrong with you? You say, mentally I think I'm struggling. Are you depressed? Well, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just struggling with the mental side of the game. That I think I'm worrying about stuff that's not happened. Now, don't get me wrong, like the mental side of the game, I think does come under some sort of mental health. Do you know what I mean as well? They can go hand in hand. I think it is, it's all part of the same thing for me as well. But I think that was the thing that was holding me back for asking for help. And I mean, before Back Onside as well, I had spoke to a couple of sports psychologists, and it was basically came down to the cost as well. I mean, I've got 2 young kids, I've got a family support. I just couldn't manage it. So that was for me. That's what's kind of stopped me from asking for the help.
So, but I guess partly the stigma, partly there's a kind of funding issue, which obviously through Back Onside you've managed to get the sort of support and help that you needed. What was I suppose what was touched on, and you've kind of highlighted it there, is it kind of stigma related around that? Because if you have made mistakes in terms of or if you want to improve your goalkeeping technique, maybe it's crosses coming in, you're handling at crosses, distribution of the ball, whatever it is, there'd be no qualms in getting that looked at and trying to do a wee bit of work on it in training. If it's you've got a wee niggle, hamstrings a bit tight, something like that, physio will see you. But yet, again, when it comes to, as you said, probably the biggest part of the game is the mental part of it, being mentally prepared, being in the right frame of mind to get on the pitch and actually play. It's still a wee bit kind of frowned upon us to say, maybe I need a wee bit of help with that.
It's massively up here, and like you said, if you're trying to work on your kicking, you go and practice it, but the mental side of the game, it's something you need to practice over and over and over and over. It's a constant thing that you need to work on. And it's even, I think even like the lower leagues I think probably need it more. I think they need more because some of these clubs are part-time. Now we're lucky that I'm full-time, so I see a physio that I can, if there's something on my chest, I mean, I can speak to him, and like that might be enough to just get it out there. Or the goalie coach, who's great, he's been amazing as well, to speak to him about things that are maybe like going on. That might be enough for me. But maybe these boys that are part-time, they don't have that. I think just across the whole board, I think just so much more needs to be done. And just so much more.
So I would definitely agree, even just for the, well, obviously I'm not in professional football, but just for what I've seen in the kind of interactions that I've had with players, coaches, managers, etc. through like my time working me back on side, that there is still a massive gap in that. See and we don't need to get into this in great detail, but like the sort of help and support that you got for Back Onside, right? How big an impact did that have on you in your game?
Well, massive. I mean, the way it worked out, I ended up coming back into the team. Unfortunately, Jamie Snedden, that was playing at the time, he picked up an injury. He had to, I think it was something he had to go and get seen. So the idea was me to come and play a game. Now, I was thinking at that point, I don't know if I ever want to play a game. I was still kind of in that stage. But through the things that I had worked on with Jane, it just totally changed. I mean, for example, before games, I was maybe trying to get through a game. If it even touching a ball, and I'd be happy. I'd be happy at that. Like, oh, thank God, I had nothing to do. Like, that's asking for trouble. Like, that's pretty scary thinking that way. Whereas now we'd turned it into, we'd worked out that I was worrying about things that weren't happening, that hadn't happened, that might not happen, and I was thinking about stuff that had came and gone and happened. Like, for example, I'd kicked one at the park and that was still in my head, I was still thinking about that. So when it came to the next kick, obviously I'm uptight, and then the next kick, something happens similar again. So basically we stripped right back into just being in the present moment at every single opportunity. A lot of stuff that I do now is I focus on my breath, my breathing. The basic thing, I just 5 senses as well. If I ever felt I was totally, like my head was totally worrying about things, so these wee things I just proper focused on. I kind of reminded myself of why I was playing football. I was playing football because I love it. Do you know what I mean? That was the be all end all. As a kid, you get to play with freedom because you love it. And that is the most important thing with play football, because we enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I'm lucky that it's turned into a job and a career. So I had all this in place, and I went back into the team. My first game I kept a clean sheet. I saved a penalty and I had another big save in the game. My overall game was just the way I had been when I was a kid, coming through at Stranraer, when I was at Clyde, when I was performing well at Clyde. And it all that just kind of proved to me that the things that I'd worked on with Back Onside had helped, had worked. And from there I played the rest of the season. I can't remember the amount of clean sheets I kept. I don't really keep track of stuff like that, but it was a good amount for the amount of games that I'd come in and played. We ended up getting to the playoff final. We unfortunately missed out narrowly, like on penalties. I ended up saving a penalty in a penalty shootout. So everything we'd worked on, everything we'd went through, had helped, it had worked. And I'd stopped, I think I've stopped, kind of speaking to Jane towards the end of last season. It was kind of maybe in the middle of summer, and I've just kept those kind of wee practices in place. This season's been difficult. I've picked up a couple of injuries, but I can't control that. That's out with my control. Again, another thing that we spoke about was controlling
the controllables.
The old kind of basic one. It's as simple as that. I can't control them. That's out with my control. All I could control was my attitude to get back fit, and when I do get fit is to train well, to try and get back in the team, to be patient, and not worry about these things. Again, it's this season my contract's coming up, it's coming to an end. I can't control that. I can't force somebody to give me a deal. Again, when I was younger, I'd have worried about that, I'd have been ill over that. Now I really don't worry about it. It's what will be. It's just out with my control. Then I ended up with another injury. I had quite a bad back injury, and that was just after Christmas. Club actually ended up signing another goalkeeper, just to cover, because they didn't know how long I was going to be. And again, Sneds, he ended up picking up an injury, and Ross Stewart, who they signed, played. And then I ended up coming back into the team as well. And it was just, I hadn't played for, since just after the start of the season. But again, it was just all those wee steps that, and all those practices, the routines that I've got every single day, the routine I've got on a Saturday, I just stuck to that, and I felt like I've performed pretty well since being back in the team. I've just came off the back of 3 clean sheets in a row. We're going into the playoffs again, and I feel like I'm in a much better, stronger place than I've ever been in my career, just from the help that I've got for Back Onside.
Right.
And again, it's just something I'm forever kind of grateful for.
But do you know, it highlights the sort of importance of thinking about things from that point of view. Not just in football, but I suppose particularly in kind of male-dominated kind of environments where there is a kind of macho side to things, and like when it comes to mental health, we've spoken about this before, where mental health, everybody's got that. Not everybody's got mental health, but everybody's got mental health you need to work on and need to improve, and that's really important. What you're highlighting is the work that Back Onside have done with you has helped improve you as probably a person, as a goalkeeper, and it's helped obviously keep you, or allowed you to perform better and stay in the team. And again, another thing that you mentioned was about the kind of cost involved with sports psychologists, which isn't cheaper, any sort of kind of therapy and stuff like that. So through Back Onside, and this will lead us on to the next point really well actually, that we're always looking to sort of raise funds and get sponsorship in and help to maintain the sort of services that we can provide as Back Onside. And one of the things that you're going to be doing is climbing Goat Fell, am I right?
Aye, 15th of June, going to climb Goat Fell. It's something me and my mates done when Shaw was just a baby, to raise, we ended up raising money for the charity for cleft lip and palate. It's called Clapper. So it's a pretty easy climb. It's not difficult, but it's a good day to spend, you know, with friends and family, and it's for a good cause. And this is just my way of starting to try and kind of pay back the help that I've been given off Back Onside, and the help that, you know, that John got, and, you know, help that probably people I don't even know that in the changing room. I can guarantee there's a high percentage in the changing room right now that have either had help, are needing help, or currently getting help. You don't see that side, and that's for obvious reasons. Same with staff and fans in the stadium. There'll be a high percentage that are getting help from Back Onside. So this is my way of trying to start paying them back. And the likes of today is probably a way to just try and highlight how important this charity is to absolutely everybody. It's not just football players, it's everybody it's important to. But from my side, from my point of view, it's maybe a wee bit different from others. So it's just all these wee things I just hope actually help and repay them for what they've done for me.
Sure it will. Certainly go a long way towards it. And that is another good point you make, because it's for everybody. It's not just, I think there's been a lot of connection with football, rightly so, and I understand there is a lot of people that have been involved in football, and Back Onside's been involved with clubs and teams, etc. But it is for everybody. But just again touching on that, do you think that still there's work could be done around clubs, football in general in Scotland, being more receptive of this type of thing? So I'm trying to think how to word that. So you're obviously coming out here and speaking quite openly about how that's helped you and it's improved your game, it's improved everything. But again, there's probably a lot of people that have been getting help or have been getting support that wouldn't maybe want to share that. And do you think that's something that we need to try and get rid of, that kind of attitude?
I do think so, but at the same time I understand, because again, there's still that stigma around about it. So I get that, but it's baffling because you've got that side of things up here, and then I don't know if you've watched the Man City documentary.
The one with Pep Guardiola.
So you've got Haaland, who are openly talking about, how they're nervous before games and stuff, and how they get, help from sports psychologists, stuff like that. I mean, I was it was the night with Joe Hart. I think it was a couple of Sundays ago, and he was pretty open and honest, speaking about he called it a mind coach, and everybody's quite they're quite happy with that. They're quite oh, that's good, big man works on that. So I don't get why that is the case for some, and then for others it's you're tarred with a brush almost, but it's really not like that. It's you're trying to improve yourself as a player, as a person, so it should only be seen as a massive positive. Like I said, there's just not enough done up here for that side of the game. We're miles off up here, that side of the game, I think anyway. But it should be so almost celebrated. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, that people are doing it. I actually remember years ago watching a Ricky Hatton documentary, and he was talking about you always see I don't know if you watch any kind of boxing or any kind of MMA or anything like UFC.
No, I'm too soft. Too soft.
Because I always thought when they walk out to the ring, they're bravado and they're cheering, the crowd's going and all that, and I'm I've been involved in that, and I'm always dead nervous before you go in, because you're I don't know, the crowd's there, the music's and you get a bit nervous about it, and I thought, how do these guys do it? And this documentary showed Ricky Hatton in his changing room, and he's pacing up and down, and the guy says to him, "Are you nervous, Ricky?" He goes, "Well, I'm not going to fucking play tiddlywinks, I'm ready to fight somebody, of course I'm nervous." And I thought, but then as soon as he walks out, the music's on and he's kind of cheering with the crowd. But it's obviously, again, like sports, whatever it is, people put on a bit of kind of bravado, a bit of a show to cover up what they actually feel. But you're playing in front of a crowd, you're trying to impress people, you're trying to do your best, which obviously brings on nerves, and there is a huge mental side to that people don't really, don't know if they don't think about it, but it doesn't get enough kind of coverage. No,
it doesn't. I mean, like you said, you're playing for, there's guys playing for to pay their mortgage at the end of the month. There's loads of they've got young families that are trying to look after. It's a lot of pressure. So it's quite right that you're nervous. It's quite right that you've got fear. That's fine. You need to accept that and be all right with that. That's okay. It's okay to be like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the likes of Khan and stuff like that, them coming out and saying, "Oh, I'm nervous," that could do so much for somebody. Like a young kid looking at it, "Oh, Han's nervous," then I'm all right. That's pretty normal. That is normal. That's totally normal. And that's not it doesn't just come to football. I think it comes to everything. When people starting the first day at a coffee shop, they're making their first coffee. That must be nerve-wracking. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's just the fear of something different, taking yourself outside your comfort zone. And I always think when it comes to any sort of kind of mental health, people sometimes feel a bit isolated or vulnerable because we don't talk enough about it. So people think that they're on their own and it's only them that it's happening to. So the likes of you doing this today could be a massive step forward for someone to say, "Whoa, didn't realise David struggled a wee bit, Back Onside gave him some support, and it's made a huge difference to his game." And doing stuff like this totally helps, and obviously the hike up Goat Fell is going to help with getting some. When is that again?
15th of June.
15th of June.
Saturday, 15th of June.
I'm going to get a haircut that day. I'm not joking. I'm joking. No, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and that's something obviously we would always encourage if anybody, because it does affect everybody, and I don't care who you are. There's always going to be somebody, either a family member, friend, some teammate, whatever it is, that could be affected by mental health. So it's always important that we kind of try our best to make sure that the services like Back Onside are there to support, and we kind of do that with people like you coming forward, speaking up about it and raising funds.
No, 100%. It's I would never obviously want anything else to happen to Back Onside but succeed, so just for the good work that they do, it's not just about me, it's everybody that help. It's what they're doing is amazing. It's brilliant, so long may it continue.
Class. Well, thanks very much, David.
No, thank you. Pleasure.
Hopefully on the 15th of June
I'll
make the ferry, aye. That's class, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.